Well, hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you to this event today. So, before we get started, I want to make sure that everyone that comes in is on mute because I want you to be able to hear the great messages that are going to be shared today. In addition to just be able to just respect all the speakers and those who decide to ask questions later. So wanted to start off by saying, if anything moves you today that you want to share with your community, feel free to use the hashtag NUK nonprofit on social media to share the goodness that is about to happen here. The icons here are the social media outlets to use it on, which are LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Okay. Can you please make sure you're on mute? Thank you. So I want to just wish you all a happy last day of Women's History Month 2021. This is a beautiful way to spend this day. And welcome to Never Underestimate Knowledge presents Woman in STEM, sponsored by Amazon. Now let's talk about never underestimate knowledge. Never underestimate knowledge. I know it's a mouthful, so in short, it's NUK or NUK for short, is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to providing inner city youth and domestic violence survivors with educational, financial, and social resources to thrive in life and fulfill their goals. NUK supports youth in their academic endeavors and empowers domestic violence survivors to leave abusive relationships and begin a new life and path to success. Even though this nonprofit was only founded in 2019, in 2020, Never Underestimate Knowledge awarded 5 scholarships to deserving high school and college students to continue their education, where several of them are in attendance today. And the first set of scholarships were in honor of the late Roberta Hunter McGee, the mother of our founder and executive director. Now in 2021, this year, the goal is to double the amount of scholarships awarded. Yes, you heard that correctly, double. So not 5, but 10 scholarships at our annual Creating Legacies Today scholarship fundraiser that is scheduled for Saturday, November 13th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Details about these scholarships will be released in the fall, but in the interim, you can register for this event with your at www.neverunderestimateknowledge.org and check out the other great things we have going on. As you can see, Never Underestimate Knowledge has some big goals, which you see presented on the side, and we want to thank our community for the donations, referrals, and prayers. We also want to thank our sponsor, Amazon, for believing in this event. Each registered participant here today will receive an item from 2 women-owned companies. The Learning Cove, you will receive the Color Chemistry, a story coloring book, as well as from Science Teacher Mom's Hands-on Science Activity Bundle. And a few lucky registered participants that are here today will also receive the Lingo Coding Kit from STEM Lingo after the question and answer portion of our agenda, okay? So, without further ado, I'm going to start introducing the people that you will see here today and hear from today. This is Crystal Galladay, MS MBA. She is the Fund Finder for Education who equips scholars with skills to attend their dream university debt-free, complete college, and thrive after graduation. Crystal utilizes her wealth of knowledge she acquired while earning 3 degrees for free. Yes, you heard that, for free. Not 1, not 2, yes, 3 degrees for FREE. That is a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering from Drexel University, a Master's of Science in Technology Management, and a Master's of Business Administration from the University of Maryland. Additionally, she was extended the opportunity to attend professional conferences and receive housing at no cost. Crystal was recruited by and relocated to various cities via Fortune 500 companies, Lockheed Martin and Accenture, and founded her 501c3 nonprofit, which is hosting the event here today, Never Underestimate Knowledge, through which she provides resources to inner city youth and domestic violence survivors. Crystal Galladay guides clients via her secret sauce to equip them as collegians who focus solely on education without the stressors of finances. Because let's face it, who wants to pay for a college degree 20 to even 50 years after they obtain it? She helps them expand their network with individuals and organizations along their journey. Crystal Galladay is a hidden gem in her industry because she identifies other resources beyond scholarships and loans to pay for college tuition, housing, etc. Plus, she has a powerful network that elevates her services to the next level. And let's not forget her book that is available in multiple languages. To learn about your host for today, feel free to check her out at her website, www.crystalgalladay.com. Now we're going to move into our awesome, super awesome panelists that we have for you today. First, we have Dr. Elise Grace. Yes, you heard me correctly. Dr. Elise Grace is the Director of Strategic Alliances within the Merck's Global Human Health Division, responsible for ensuring the successful commercialization of vaccines across the multiple localization partnerships. Dr. Grace began her career at Merck 17 and a half years ago and has worked across various areas within Merck's manufacturing division in the United States and Germany. Dr. Grace has experience in vaccine manufacturing, supply chain management, external manufacturing, project management, and technology transfer. Dr. Grace earned her Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering and her MBA in Marketing from Drexel University in Philadelphia, PA, and her Doctor of Engineering in Engineering Management from the George Washington University. Next up, we have Crystal M. Lacey, Esquire. Crystal M. Lacey, Esquire is the Executive Intellectual Property Counsel for Suez Water Technologies and Solution, formerly General Electric Water and Process Technology. Crystal began her legal career as an employment and family law attorney. She later found and managed Lacey Law LLC, where she focused her practice on complex family law matters, wills and estate law, and small business matters. Very active in the legal community, she is a member of the Barristers Association in Philadelphia, America Intellectual Property Law Association, AIPLA, and Association of Corporate Counsel, ACC. She also serves as a panelist across subject matter related to global practice of intellectual property. Prior to devoting herself full-time to the practice of law, Crystal spent 10 years working as an engineer in chemical and filtration industries. She obtained her Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering with a minor in Business Administration from Drexel University while matriculating at the Widener University School of Law. She worked full-time and participated in the Civil Law Clinic, where she represented indigent clients in various civil matters. She also earned her LLM in trial advocacy from Temple University. Crystal's contributions extend far beyond the legal and STEM communities. She is a member of the Omega Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the Philadelphia chapter of the Links Incorporated. She is also a board member and officer of the 1926 Foundation, where she raised funds to provide scholarships to support local charitable organizations based in Philadelphia, where she resides. I'm telling you, these panelists, they have a lot going on. And that's why they're here with us today. And last but not least, we have Kristen D. Rogers, DDS, MSD. Yes, that is Dr. Rogers. She was raised in St. Louis. She started her career as an engineer and worked as a patent examiner at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. After seeing firsthand the interplay between the science underlying tissue engineering and the clinical application to oral diseases, she pursued a career in dentistry. Dr. Rogers has been practicing dentistry since 2012. When not practicing periodontics, She enjoys traveling, competitive running, golf, yoga, attending live sporting events, and puzzle games. Dr. Rogers has a BS in biomedical engineering with a concentration in biomaterials and tissues engineering from Drexel University in Philadelphia. She has a DDS, which I had to look up, which is a Doctor of Dental Strategy from Howard University, College of Dentistry in Washington, D.C. And she was a resident GPR, excuse me, at Howard University Hospital in Washington, D.C., and she specializes in periodontics. So we have a great lineup with our panel. Now, if you're like me, then you like to know the flow of things. So here is the agenda. We're keeping it simple with a panel discussion of these three lovely women that I just introduced, followed with some Q&A, questions and answers. And if you have a question before this section, please put it in the chat with a capital Q in front of it so we can get to it later at the designated time. And please note that we will try to answer as many questions as time permits. Then we will have our drawing for the lucky participants where three of you will receive the lingo coding kit from STEM Lingo, in addition to the 2 items from the Learning Cove and Science Teacher Mom that every registered attendee that is here will receive. Isn't that great? Once again, thank you to our sponsor, Amazon. So I don't want you to wait another minute for this panel discussion. So we are going to get started, and make sure you use this hashtag NUK nonprofit and share on these social media outlets, excuse me. So I am here. This is me. I am your host, Crystal Galladay, and we have our lovely panelists here. To my left, we have Dr. Kristen Rogers. Below her, we have Crystal M. Lacey, Esquire. And then to the right, which is below me, we have Dr. Elise Grace, okay? So we have some panel questions that we're gonna go through so that we can get the conversation flowing. But remember, put in the chat if you want to ask some questions. So we're gonna get started. Ladies, if you can tell us, why did you choose STEM? Like, we'll go in the order that I mentioned you, but why STEM? Why did that spark your career, and what was the interest in it?
So I guess that means I'll start.
That's
so, so for me, it went all the way back to when I was a child. I always had a love for math and science, large in part probably due to my mother, who's on here right now, who was a math teacher. And just going to school, I kind of just gravitated to math and science. Those are my favorite classes. I love to explore with things. I love to experiment. And when we would go shopping, right, my mom, if I wanted to like get some new clothes, my mom would say, okay, Crystal, so how much does that cost? And of course, right, I had to make certain it was on sale, and I had to let her know, you know, if it was 50%, what's 50% of the price tag, right? So it was almost like a game. She made it really fun for me. And it just stuck, right? Through grade school, on through middle school. On the weekends, I would attend like enrichment programs that various colleges or programs offer, because my mom was very serious about my education. Therefore, I became very serious about my education. And then in high school, I went to a school that focused on engineering and math. It was called the High School of Engineering and Science. And I mean, it was a no-brainer for me. I definitely had an interest in the law, but I always told myself that one day I would figure out how to marry the two. And for me, that is why I went into STEM. It was something where I knew there wasn't a lot of people who looked like me. And I also knew there was a lot of people who said that I couldn't do it. So I said, okay, let me show you how it's done.
No, that's right. Thank you for sharing that, and shout out to your mom who's here.
Well, like Crystal, I have similar interests as to why I chose a career in STEM. Again, I grew up in a household with an educator, and my mom was a math teacher. And my father also had a background in science as well with one of his degrees. So it was natural for me to be interested in math and science, just being exposed to it from them. But, as I got further in my education in school, those were areas where I naturally excelled. So, it gave me an opportunity to figure out, well, this could be a way that I could make a living for myself. And picking a career in STEM and with engineering, it allowed me to have an opportunity to make an impact on people's lives. And it also helped me because I was always really curious about the world around me. So being in engineering and being allowed to learn the design process helped me to satisfy that curiosity as well. I also chose the STEM career because I also wanted to to have a fulfilling career that allowed me to explore some of my passions. So I've always liked creative things like art, and I enjoy dancing, and not necessarily that I get to dance in my profession. I do get to be creative when it comes to aspects of aesthetic dentistry. And another reason why I chose the STEM career is because it does allow me the opportunity to make a high income, which can also help me to be able to benefit, my family and also help others in my community.
Yes, being in a STEM career, you're up there on the salary pole. But thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the field that you chose and how you just serve the community through your dentistry area. So thank you, Dr. Rogers. And now we'll move on to Dr. Elise, if you can answer that question.
Sure. So for me, I actually wanted to be a teacher. I've always excelled in math and science. Like my mother is quick with the math. It's funny because she says that I can't count because we use calculators. So any engineer on the line or on the phone knows that we actually can't do math in our head because we always had a calculator to do our math problems and these complex problems that we solve. But like Crystal Lacey, I also went to a specialized high school, Brooklyn Tech High School in Brooklyn, New York, and I had to choose a major. And I chose mechanical engineering because we made a go-kart, right? So everyone in high school, you want to drive. And so we had to make a go-kart. And so that's how I selected my major. And then really after that, STEM chose me. I really enjoyed the fact that it was such a broad major and that you were learning different things. You were really learning how to solve problems, how to approach problems. It was a different way of thinking. It wasn't like you were sitting in a business class or a lit class where you just had to remember facts. You really had to think. And so that's why I decided to stick with it. Again, at Drexel University, with the co-op program that we had, we were allowed to work, right? And so you were able to get real world experience before you graduated college. And that for me opened my eyes to all of the different fields that you could work in. You could work in the automotive industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the beauty industry. It was such a broad field. And so for me, STEM, again, it chose me. So math and science, would love it. I love it. I wanted to be a teacher, but just the exposure that I had in high school and just the road that I took, I stuck with it. I love it. And I really encourage students, if you love math and science, to definitely try a major in STEM. If it's not engineering, maybe a medical degree or something, but STEM is definitely where it's at. That's my plug for tonight.
Yeah, we're all kind of plugging STEM. That's our area that we chose for our particular reasons. I know for me, I loved math. Like my dad used to give me real world examples to a point where in elementary school, you're gonna laugh about this. My sister is a year and 9 months younger than me. We went to the same elementary school. He gave me $1, told me to share it with her. I I ripped it. I ripped it and gave it to her. And everybody was like, no. I'm like, but he told me to give her half. I know what half is. So have real world examples. And I do that with my prince as well, in regards to learning around him, because, it doesn't always have to just be notebook and learning from the textbook in school. It's everything is learning around us. And I also had an interest in science. I wasn't good in literacy. So that wasn't the area I was going in. And I researched different fields for math because I knew like that was my strong suit when I was in high school. I even was exceeded what they offered at my high school. So I was taking college courses and traveling from the Bronx to Brooklyn in New York to go to Polytechnic Institute for math because my school didn't have enough math for me. And when I went to the open house at our school, the engineering field that had the most math was computer engineering. So that's why I chose computer engineering. And the reason why I stuck with engineering because of the full ride, got to go where the money resides. And I've just been sticking with that and expanded in the technology field with my master's, but then also went to the business side as well, because with me climbing the corporate ladder and knowing I wanted to do things externally, I knew I needed to know the business side a little bit more because that's where I wanted to go in my journey. And that's important, understanding where you want to go, but then also learning from mentors. Like we mentioned, a lot of our family members that gave us guidance, and then talking to people externally to figure out what their path is. Like if they're here where you want to be, what was their path so that you can learn from their journey, right? So I want to lead into the next question. Could you please share about your experience in your field of choice? Because let's face it, I know for me, it's a male dominated field in engineering, and it's different. It could be different. Even now on my global team that I'm on, I am the only African American female in 2021. Yes. So let's talk about your experience along your journey. If there's anything you want to highlight or any encouraging words for the audience if they do encounter anything, or just any highlights, whatever.
So I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to go first, Liz?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I've been with my company for 17 and a half years. Actually started with Merck as a co-op. Again, mentioned, went to Drexel University. They have a co-op program. And so I did my last co-op my senior year at at Merck. And I was offered a part-time position while I was still in school my senior year. And I landed a full-time position. So I really started off going into it like, great, I have a job. I didn't graduate yet. This is it, right? I'm gonna stick with this. Started off as an entry-level engineer, really with no insight about what I wanted to do next. And then my next role really defined for me where my passion lied at Merck. And so I went into vaccine manufacturing. And why I'd say, that was my passion was because I'm helping people. And so me being a teacher, I have a passion for people. I have a passion for doing missions work. I can help people through my day job. And so that for me was really where I said, you know what, Merck is the place for me. And as I began to network at Merck, I realized we did so much. We do research and development, we do manufacturing, we do our own marketing. And so I felt like I could really lay my roots at Merck and continue to grow and really feel like I was getting a different experience. So spent about 8 years in manufacturing, doing various roles between vaccine manufacturing and sterile supply. And then I wanted to learn another part of the business. So I moved over into the supply chain organization, supporting global launches over the world. And then for me, that was a different lens because now I'm seeing where the product is going, where the end patient is, right? I'm seeing these bids come in for people in Africa, people in Indonesia wanting our product. And so I'm helping get those launches started and helping people get the product that they needed. And so again, it's like, yep, this is it for me. Then I started to get bored, right? I'm like, all right, I'm not really doing anything engineering. I'm not doing engineering work. So it was, it was hard. And this is where, your network really comes into play, and having mentors and having sponsors is really important. And I think we can talk about that later, but my sponsors and my mentors really helped me think about what are the next steps that you want to take? Like, where do you want to be in 5 years? You're not just thinking about that next role, but what's, in 5 to 10 years from now, what do you want to be doing? And then what do you need to do to get there? And so when I thought about it, I'm like, okay, I don't really understand the business part of the business. And I also, I would like to do an international assignment. A few months later, I got an opportunity to go to Germany to support the tech transfer for the Ebola vaccine. And that was a totally cool experience. So for any students on the line, if you ever have an experience to go study abroad, to travel abroad, or to work abroad, I definitely recommend you do that. You just have a real different lens about business, about humanity, just about the world. So I spent 2 years in Germany supporting the tech transfer. And then when I came back, I started supporting external manufacturing, which is more so back into the engineering space. And I love that. And now I'm doing a different role on our human health side of the business. So I'm in a business role, but I need to have an engineering / operations background. And so what I'm supporting now is strategic alliances around the world. So these are partnerships that my company has with other businesses in Brazil, Argentina, and other countries where they're going to make the product on our behalf to sell it in their market. So I'm making sure from an operations perspective that those companies are abiding by our contract and also doing what they need to do from a engineering vaccine manufacturing perspective. And so I kind of went all around the globe with that, but that's how broad engineering is, right? And that's why I've stayed with my company, because I was able to have really different experiences over the past almost 18 years now. It'll be 18 years in July. Like, that's a whole human being. That's a college kid, right? So I think I'm a life for it, Merck. You don't know. But I think, if anybody's interested in STEM, don't think it's just going to be science and crunching numbers. The landscape is really broad, and I think whatever you want to do with it, it's at your fingertips.
And you mentioned going around the globe. You literally went around the globe, from here to Germany to like wherever else, and now you're back. So thank you for sharing your journey, because I think it's going to help people better understand like your path, but then also try to figure out theirs. So I believe Crystal Lacey Esquire, you were going to answer the question next.
Sure. Dr. Grace, she said a lot of really great things about mentorship, exposure, and just keeping an open mind about things. So although I always loved science and math, I also always wanted to be a lawyer for very superficial reasons, right? What I saw on TV, I was told they made a lot of money. And then I found out that lawyers were struggling to find jobs because the field was pretty saturated. And from there, it was like, okay, STEM, it definitely is at this point. So going to Drexel, majoring in chemical engineering, it was really, really rough. But because of these ladies who are on this panel, right, I was able to hang in there and to make it through. And then because of another person who's in this Zoom call, right, I knew I had something to do. And if I didn't get it done, I didn't want to have to answer to her. So that being said, I did the hard work. I had several co-op experiences with the company that's no longer in existence now, Roman Haas, which is now Dow. I enjoyed that experience. So I knew, right, engineering was definitely for me. My first job out, I worked for a filtration company for about 7 years. And while there, I got a lot of exposure to doing technical work, but also to business. And there, it went again, right, that hankering to want to still pursue law. So I went to law school, graduated with my JD, and was trying to figure out, what to do in the interim. So I did take a bit of a detour because I wanted to practice various areas of the law, but I also knew that there was something called a patent attorney. And as a patent attorney, you have to have a STEM background, a science background, in order to practice in that field. And you don't take just the bar exam, you take the bar exam, and then there's something called the patent bar, which I would not be able to qualify for if I didn't have a chemical engineering degree or some kind of science field. So because of that, I was able to transition over into being a patent attorney. And I traveled from Philadelphia to Connecticut for approximately a year, right? Because that was an area that was new to me, and I had to go to where the job was located. And again, right, I had people who believed in me, who supported me, my sorority sisters, one who is on this phone, in this call, Delana, who allowed me to stay with her while I tried to figure this whole thing out. And General Electric was very, very good to me. And because of the work that I put in there, doors began to open. And the first door that opened was I left Connecticut to come back to Philadelphia and took a job with General Electric. But then General Electric decided, hey, we're going to sell your business. Okay, so now I'm freaking out. I'm a little nervous. What's going to happen? And a company based in France called Suez purchased my company. And I mean, unbelievable things, similar to at least around the globe and back. So now I'm doing this patent attorney thing. And as a patent attorney, I protect our intellectual property assets. What is intellectual property? That's patents, that's trademarks, that's copyrights, that's trade secrets. Patents, that's what you do when you're trying to protect an invention. So a lot of those vaccines that Dr. Grace just mentioned, if I worked for her company, I would help to file patent applications to protect those vaccines so that Merck can make a whole lot of money and so that she stays paid and employed, right? And then from there, I was doing that for my company. We're into the water industry in the water space, and they asked me to come to France, come to Paris for a month, and I went to for a month, and while there, I was able to travel to Morocco, to the UK, United Kingdom, to Switzerland, to Hungary, and I got a chance to really see and experience the company, the various technologies that I support, to meet a whole bunch of people. And I felt like I found finally like my purpose. It's just everything came full circle. And because of that, I was recognized as a stellar employee, and now I'm running the entire intellectual property department within my business unit. And as Crystal spoke earlier, nobody looks like me, and I'm trying to change that.
Thank you for that. As we climb, we have to bring people with us. And I know we're doing that in the various initiatives that we have. So thank you for sharing your journey. I know the questions are rolling in. We're going to get through one more panel question, and then we're going to go into the Q&A because the chat is rolling. Okay. So Kristen, if you don't mind answering that question about sharing your experience in your field of choice.
So my career path, again, it wasn't a straight line. It was very indirect as to how I arrived at being a periodontist. But again, my career started at Drexel University. I had the opportunity to do a co-op program. And my first co-op job was at the Community College of Philadelphia. And I helped to design the curriculum for their organic chemistry departments. After that, the other two co-op jobs that I had, I worked at a company called Exponent failure analysis firm, and they are an engineering firm, and they focused on analyzing failures with medical devices, with motor vehicles, pretty much anything that any operating machinery that could go wrong, also with medical devices like hip and knee implants. So I think just having that first experience at Exponent, it awakened that kind of lingering desire still to pursue my engineering degree, which was in biomedical engineering, but also to kind of reawaken my interest in medicine. And it took me a while to kind of figure out that I did want to go into medicine. My first job out, I worked at the Patent and Trademark Office. And there I worked as a patent examiner. And again, you have to have a science background in order to have a patent examiner job. And I got to work with medical devices. So it was very impactful to me because I was able to help those inventors to do research and see what it was that was help them to facilitate what was unique about their device. So that way that their inventions and their creations could be protected. I realized that that particular type of career, although it was very rewarding, there wasn't enough human interaction for me. So I did have the opportunity again through another colleague of mine who she went to Drexel University as well. She was working at another federal government agency at the Food and Drug Administration. And so I was able to transition over to the Food and Drug Administration, and they had a position in the dental devices branch. So, now I had an opportunity again to work directly with medical devices. And on this particular job, not only was I helping to protect the creative, ingenuity of designers, but my job there was to make sure that these medical devices were safe and effective, excuse me, for what they were required to do. So just because of that, I've had a unique opportunity to kind of see both sides of what it is that Crystal Lacey does and also what Dr. Grace does as well. But again, I still knew, in the back of my mind that I did want to pursue my interests in dentistry. And I was really thankful that I had very supportive managers and other mentors around me that allowed me to still be able to work my jobs, but they knew that I wanted to pursue my interest in being a dentist as well. So then I got the opportunity to go to Howard. And while there, I did meet other people and other dental specialists. And when you're in dental school, everyone learns how to just do general dentistry, which again, it allowed me to see that I like doing general things, but I also like to become an expert at one thing in particular, because that would allow me to do something really well and do it very efficiently. So that allowed me to be able to pick a dental specialty. And there are several areas where you can specialize. I just happened to choose periodontics because to me, periodontics was the most encompassing. And it allowed me to marry that engineering that I had from Drexel with the tissue engineering and the biomaterials along with the medicine. So for me, that was the most, I think the best fit for me. And currently, I'm able to participate in research with the engineering. I've also had opportunities to practice dentistry abroad. I've done dental mission trips. Jamaica is one of my first mission trips that I went on. It's probably one of my favorites still that I've had the opportunity to participate in as well.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know we have a couple of questions in the comments, and that may tie into the last question that we had because I do want the audience to be able to get a chance to ask their questions because they may be pursuing this career or just want to get our advice or whatever the case may be. So our last question is, what advice do you have for future generations? And I feel like through our answers for these questions, it may come about, but if you have like maybe two things really quick that you want to say that you would provide the future generation, let's do that. I know for me, I want you to remember that you could do anything you put your mind to, like anything. Like it is possible. It's going to be hard work and it's going to be challenges sometimes, but if you put your mind to it and you understand what the requirements are and put the work to it, it's possible. I failed physics freshman year, but I ended up by the time graduating getting on the dean's list. So it all works. And with engineering, it's not an easy path. There's a lot of studying and it's the hardest major ever if you ask me, but we made it. And you can too, if that's what you decide to do or whatever you decide to do. So I said keep it quick, but I'm just gonna let you guys go. I said two, that's one. Go ahead.
So this is actually my favorite question because it really allows you to just spill your guts out. And I see my family on the call. Hey family, love you guys. But be intentional, right? It's all hard. Everything is hard. Choose your hard, right? And so I say that with my workouts. I say that with work. It's all hard. Choose your hard. Like being broke is hard. Not having a job is hard. But going to school is hard and having money is hard. So choose your hard, right? And be confident. And so, especially in STEM, as women, as African Americans, as Blacks, however you identify, you will probably be the only one in the room or one of two in the room. And so if you have a seat at the table, use your voice. You are enough. Like your voice matters, right? And so don't be intimidated. You're there for a reason, right? You didn't get there because your dad owned the company or because you knew somebody. You got there because you earned it and you worked hard, right? Like these are we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Like I love that quote. And we are there because of their blood, their sweat, and their tears. So make it matter, right? Make it matter. And Crystal, I see you taking a deep breath, but make it matter. And then don't be afraid to ask what you want. And I still struggle with this if I'm being transparent, but you're there for a reason. So ask for what you want and know your worth. Have a diverse set of mentors and sponsors. Don't just have mentors and sponsors that look like you, because realistically, at the end of the day, you need other people that don't look like you to be your voice sometimes at tables that we don't sit at. And then one of my mentors, Willie Dees, I'll give him a shout out. He used to be the president at Merck of MMD. Don't forget to send the elevator back down. Don't forget to do that. And so when you get there, if you don't see other, you can't be the first and the last. And make it easy for that next person. Speak up for other people, advocate for other people, right? And it's not going to be easy. You always want to, for one, right? It's this pie model. It's your performance, your image, and your exposure. You first have to perform. Performing is the first thing. And then it's your image. How do you show up? How are you showing up to meetings? How are you showing up? And now we're on Zoom calls, but how are you showing up? Put your camera on, speak up, ask questions. It's okay to say you don't know. People love to answer questions and to talk about themselves. And so ask those questions, and then your exposure. That goes back to your network, right? And so those are your mentors and your sponsors. So remember that pie model. If you don't remember anything, remember the pie model, send the elevator back down, and it's all hard. Choose your hard.
Wait, and when I think of pie, I think of 3.14. The math geek in me, but you also mentioned a good thing: mentor and sponsor. There is a difference, right? A sponsor is someone in your direct lineage that can pull you up when they go up. Like if they move to the next position, they could bring you up with them. They could speak to you in your performance. A mentor is a part of your board of directors. They don't even have to be in your field of study. So Kristen, I'm gonna pass it to you, and then we're gonna get into these questions.
Okay, I think these things are very important to just think about in your journey going forward. You have to be your biggest encourager, because again, like we've mentioned, there are going to be times where you may be forming the blueprint. You're going to be the first one there, and it's just going to be important that you realize that you have to believe in yourself and just cheer yourself on. Another thing that I think is very important is just to realize that life will come at you very fast, and it's kind of hard sometimes to kind of not look on someone else's paper. You just kind of have to remember that not everyone has it all together, and that's okay. Because there will be times in your journey, and I've had this happen to me, that I did not know how I was going to get from being an engineer to being a periodontist. And I couldn't think about it, but because I believe in God, I know my path was divinely created, that my preparation from being an engineer allowed me to segue directly into being a periodontist. And I had no idea that I had already taken all the classes that I needed in order to, get into a program. So again, just, be open to the possibilities that there are going to be things that you won't be able to predict on your path, but you will get to, where it is that you are meant to be, and you have to cheer yourself on along the way.
Thank you for that. Yes, be your biggest cheerleader, not your biggest critic. I know far too often we are our biggest critic. So we have to get out of that and toot our own horn every now and then. So we have a couple of jewels that was dropped. So definitely I see it in the comments that people are talking about the pie model. We're phenomenal women. We're our ancestors' wildest dreams. And that kind of choked me up because my parents are in heaven. And there was an experience when putting on this event and planning it that my prince, as well as my sister, reminded me that my father was with me. So not going to get choked up in regards to that, but I know that my parents are the lead angels in heaven rooting for me and making a way. And I know they were on that team getting Amazon to be the sponsor here today. So we're going to go into these questions. I know Noreen had a couple of questions that will be related more towards Attorney Lacey. Can you patent a framework that you develop and consult for with businesses, and how can we patent ideas or patent improvements on an existing product? So if you can take that.
So that's actually a very complex question. And I'm kind of careful on giving legal advice because the company I work for doesn't allow me to give legal advice outside of things that are related to the company. But what I will say to you, to answer your question, you can patent improvements to another somebody else's product. So if you are able to improve things, for example, right, someone made a blow dryer, but we all know there's blow dryers have evolved from the beginning of when they were first invented till today. So there clearly is examples that will show that you definitely can make an improvement to someone's product and make money for it, and might possibly make someone's product obsolete. But also in patent and develop an improvement to someone's product, you also might find a company who might want to come and actually buy your product in order to take that improvement on, maybe further develop it. There's so many things that can come from that. So to answer that question, yes. I think the other question was related to can you patent a framework?
Yes.
So I'm not 100% certain what that question means. Possibly if
I'll say the full thing. Can you patent a framework that you develop and consult for with businesses? So like a process, or like, these steps.
so. Possibly no, it may not be so in order to patent something, it has to be tangible, it has to be some kind of thing, right? It can't be an abstract idea, it has to be something that actually you enable and can actually make it work in some respects. So depending on what that framework or that process is, it may not be that, but it might be something that you might want to copyright, or it could be something that might need to be kept as a trade secret. So I hope that gives you just a little bit of background. What's a trade secret? Let me explain that just a little bit. So a trade secret is just that. It's something you keep secret. You use in the industry. It's defined by laws and protected by laws. And I'll give you an example. Coca-Cola, the recipe to make Coca-Cola is a trade secret. They do not have a patent, but they make Coca-Cola, have been making Coca-Cola for years. And anyone who has that recipe, knows that they can't disclose it without suffering some severe repercussions. So that's kind of an idea of a trade secret. So if you have a process that works well, maybe for a particular company, for what that might be, then it could be a trade secret. Copyright is written material. So if this process is something that you want to then write down, you could possibly develop a copyright for that. Anything that you write, you actually automatically have copyright protection in it. But again, it's a little nuanced. It's not as simple as I'm making it, but I hope that gives you maybe a little broader understanding.
I think that would be helpful, and at least to direct them on the path. And even with copywriting, thinking about like a book. Go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, just to chime in on that answer, there are free materials. If you go to uspto.gov, you can research your idea through what they call a prior art search. And there are also people who work in the library at the USPTO, and they can kind of help guide you in that process at the very beginning, if that's something that you would like to do.
Thank you for adding that, because you did work for USPTO. So thank you for that. We're going to go to a broader question. Was it hard choosing a college for STEM?
Well, for me, it was okay. So at the time when I went to college, biomedical engineering was a new discipline of engineering that had not been fully accredited by many universities. Since then, there are more schools that do have biomedical engineering, or they have bioengineering. So my choices were limited in, where I could go and where I knew I could get an accredited degree. So, I mean, ultimately, Drexel did choose me, and I'm really thankful that that's where I went to school. So I think the main things to consider are, one, think about the location, maybe where it is that you would like to go to school. If you want to stay at home, I think that's also has advantages as well, versus going away. And there's also advantages to, going somewhere, outside of your current state as well. And then also thinking about just the type of resources and programs that the school has for you while you're there. I think those are important things to look at.
So I want to piggyback off of the end of what Kristen said. in terms of when you're looking at schools, right? Depending on what you think you want to do afterwards, if you know you definitely want to go into industry, I would recommend a school that has built-in internships, relationships, and co-ops, because that makes a world of difference. And so I'm going to speak to you from a perspective of a recruiter. So I oftentimes go recruit students where I'm meeting seniors who don't have any experience. They have done summer jobs at the supermarket, at summer camps, Dick's Sporting Goods, right? But they don't have any real world experience, where you have other schools like your Penn States, your Drexels, other schools with co-op programs where these kids are coming in with at least a year and a half of experience their senior year, where we're definitely going to offer them that job unless you have a compelling story where that work experience is really important. So if you want to go into industry directly after school, look for a school that has a built-in internship or co-op program, because that will make a world of difference when you're really looking to land that full-time job. And even if you don't land at a school there like that, definitely try to find your own internships, right? So your freshman year, your sophomore summer, right? Don't wait until your senior year to find an internship. You see everybody nodding their head, do not wait, because you have students out here who are working every summer, either internship or co-op, getting real world experience. And so as a recruiter, we're looking at what they can bring to the table and how much you have to train them when they get on the job. And so not to say that you can't start from zero, and some people will give you a chance. However, if you start early and you know this going into college, that I think it makes your life a lot easier when you're looking for a permanent position.
And I will say this, there's high school students getting with these Fortune 500 companies. I've been the national lead for a unique internship program for my firm 2 fiscal years, and I had a 14-year-old working at my firm. So we're going to move into the next set of questions. So the questions are rolling in, and I know we have a couple of other things we want to do before we close out. It's about your path and uncertainty and challenges. So I'm going to read the 2-part question. Was there ever a time where you questioned your path when you weren't at the level you aspired to be yet? And how did you deal with it and see things through? And then the second part is, how did you deal with the uncertainty moments along your path to where you are now?
So I think I'll take that first. Absolutely, right? Adversity was definitely a part of that path to where I am to today. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Being told no, you know, that's real, like very real, right? I'll just give a really quick story. So I had an interview. I had an interview to be a intellectual property attorney position at a law firm based in where I live. And I was excited about this interview because, I had met somebody who worked at the firm. The person really liked me and was like, great, there's an opening and I think you'll be perfect for it. Well, the person happened to leave the law firm before I was able to come in for my interview. But regardless, didn't matter, right? I'm prepared. I had my resume, right? I did all the right things. And I get to the interview and met with a partner at the firm who questioned, right, whether I had passed the patent bar, as if I would lie on my resume, about passing the patent bar. And when I told this man that, yes, I passed, I am a registered patent attorney, he then asked me again, do you really have a registration number? And I had never been so insulted in my life. And one of the things that, I would tell you, especially in these roles where it's not many of us, it's a small community. So oftentimes, right, your first inclination might be to check them and let them know, how dare you insult me like that? But I couldn't. At that moment in time, I realized that position is not for me. And that's okay. God clearly has another path for me. And that is how you deal with the uncertainty, or at least that's how I dealt with it. If it wasn't for God on my side, I really do not know, but for where would I be today? And I have not seen that gentleman. I can't wait until I do, because I'm pretty certain he will want my business now, because that's what law firms do, right? They need corporations to they need them as clients. But yeah, it happened, and it happened more than once. You know, I had another interview, similar situation. Person questioned, why would I want to practice in this area of law? You don't look like somebody who would be in the patent space, you know. And again, I had to smile and nod and just thank them for their time and go on about my business. And then finally, I met a woman who admitted to me that I would love to hire you, but these white males at this firm will eat you alive. And she then sat with me and gave me, you know, rules as to what she thought I needed to do in order to continue on this journey. And I thank her for that and continued with the journey, right? I did like I said, a very interesting commute for a whole year. So it can happen, right? Don't take no for an answer. If you're really determined, if it's something you want to do, it's going to be hard. You know, nothing comes easy. You know, especially when it's not something that everyone is doing. And just, you know, keep your faith, keep God first, keep a great support system, rely on family and friends. Kristen mentioned already, be your biggest cheerleader. You have to, because when you walk out of rooms like that, it's really easy to feel defeated and to feel like just giving up. And nope, not me. No is actually a word that just makes me want to push harder. So that's how I would recommend you deal with the uncertainty.
If I can jump on to what Crystal just said, that whole thing about uncertainty and faith, right? And it's hard because you don't know what you don't know. You walk into a room, you don't know what you're going to face. But, you know, my grandmother always said, what's meant for you will always be yours. And so you're not going to get every job. You're not going to, you know, everything you apply for, you won't get. However, if you know you've sown the seeds and you've done the work, you know, those seeds will grow, right? You can't plant a seed today and expect to see, you know, fruit tomorrow. And so I think that's something that's really critical for us to really know and hold true to our hearts, is that nothing that's yours will ever pass you by. So there have been jobs, I've been at Merck for almost 18 years. There are jobs I've applied for, didn't get. I've watched other people who I know for a fact were less qualified, who didn't know what I know, who I trained, who didn't have as many degrees as I had, who got the job. But that's not mine, right? That's not my prize. And so we're gonna face the adversity. You're gonna have people who don't believe in you. But again, be confident and believe in yourself and know that you are enough. And if you have really, truly put in the work, what is meant for you will always be yours.
Absolutely.
I truly believe in that.
Absolutely. For sure. I I know there was a question. Kristen, did you want to hop on this one, or did you want to take the next one?
I did. I kind of want to speak very briefly about this. So I had, well, I didn't get into periodontics for that program the very first time I applied. I applied kind of late in the process. They do rolling applications. So that meant that I did not have my next step as to what I was going to do right after graduation. It just so happened that, you know, that gave me an opportunity to prepare myself for the following year for applications and, you know, possibly have a better result. So I ended up doing a 1-year general practice residency at Howard University Hospital. And during that time, it was probably one of the hardest years that I ever had, just because working in a hospital setting was challenging for me because of the hours, but it was also challenging because now I am in a position where I'm having to learn other aspects of medicine, not just dentistry. So I had a lot of experience dealing with trauma, and you know, unbeknownst to me, it actually led to me having the opportunity, once I did get into periodontics program, you know, after the fact, at St. Louis University, I was able to work with the basketball team, which is the St. Louis Billikens, and they're a D1 school. And I was able to work with them to help with trauma, help them with getting their mouth guards and everything, keeping them, safe on the team, them and also women's lacrosse. So being a sports fan, I was really excited about that. But that was, that setback in that 1 year, it prepared me for that opportunity that no one else in my class was able to fulfill.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that. We're going to have three more questions from the chat, and then we're going to close out. One of the 2020 NUK scholars, or Never Underestimate Knowledge scholars, has a question. It's Miss Wright here. She says, I'm about to send in my application for the Lockheed Martin internship. It will be my first time having an internship. I got recruited from Lockheed Martin. That's another connection we have. Having an internship that will prepare me for mechanical engineering field. How do you deal with any anxiety in going into a new workspace where you may be the Black girl of the group? Any mantras you say or advice you can give? And any one of us can take that. But I know for me, like I had to write I am the SHIT list to remind myself of all the things that I've accomplished and that no one can take away from me, be it hard experiences, be it my degrees, be it whatever I did to get through it. I refer back to that list periodically because sometimes we're put in situations where we doubt ourselves, like we're human. But just remember, you're there because you're supposed to be there. And I believe Dr. Grace had mentioned this earlier, like what's meant for you is for you. Speak up, do what you have to do. And yes, just be present and do that job that you're supposed to be there for. And one other thing, you're not going to be chummy friends with everybody. I had to learn that the hard way. I was just like, what? I don't get along with this person, or that's my best friend. Yeah, no, we're here for work. We're going to get work done. And we're going to keep it moving. So anybody else want to take this to help our young scholar that is about to start her first internship? Yes, I love it.
Right? And so just remember, I don't know who your God is, but God has not given you a spirit of fear. So you are enough. Again, you are enough, right? So just remember, you are enough. You're there for a reason. And if you need to sit in the room and observe, then that's okay. But don't always be the quiet person in the room. You also want to speak up, right? And so if you are privileged enough to get this internship, which I'm sure you deserve, then go and be yourself, right? Speak up, ask questions, but don't have a spirit of fear. Like you're there for a reason. Be confident, walk in it, right? If you're here at Lockheed Martin, our ancestors went through way, way, way worse for you to be able to show up in that moment and be who you are. And so just remember what they went through and why you're here and own it.
So if I could just piggyback a little bit, again, with another little story. So right before I started patent law, as Crystal, mentioned in my bio, I practiced family law. And what I learned through the practice of family law is that many of my clients had social media pages. And on those social media pages, you would think that they had no problems, that everything was a sunshine and flowers and candy. Like it was just always a good time for them. And the reality was, as their lawyer, I knew that that was not the truth. And I say that and to say, right, everyone is dealing with problems and issues, right? No matter whether we wear it on our face or we don't, we're all human. So when you walk into these spaces and places where people don't look like you, we're all just alike in some way. We all have some kind of similar issue, similar problems. So don't ever walk into a space thinking that, like has already been stated, that you're not enough. And don't walk into a space thinking that anyone in there is better than you, because they're not, right? They also started at the beginning and had to climb to get to where they are today. And the same goes, for you. So as Dr. Grace said, you don't need a spirit of fear. Don't go in there with that. Just know that you are enough and that you belong there, right? You deserve to be there, and keep that at the forefront of your mind. Positive thoughts. And again, if you're not certain or you're not feeling that great about yourself, you need to have that support system that you can call that will remind you who you are, whose you are. Okay.
All right.
So I have a different way of dealing with those anxieties. For me, I think physical movement and having that ritual of having some type of physical exercise, whether it be walking, running, yoga, anything like that, or whatever you choose. For me, that's very important and very grounding for me to be able to control that anxiety. When I feel really good physically in my body, I can go into any room and I can show up, I feel like, as my best self. So I think it's important that, you know, when you are going into new situations, if you've already done some preparation on yourself to, you know, get yourself in the right mental state and physical state, then I think that it'll help you to show up better in those new places.
Great, thank you. I'm sure that that helped her and other scholars that are in the audience. Um, there was a question about diversity and inclusion programs that I wanted to get to, and then one more. In such a male-dominated field, can you speak to the importance of DEI programs to help bridge the gender gap in STEM?
It's
So,
crucial. It's
okay.
very crucial. And honestly, if you're going on interviews, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking, you know, do they have a D&I program and what are the goals? One of the things that we're dealing with currently at my company is because we are owned by a company based in France, for them, diversity and inclusion just means white women. So we, the collective of African Americans, had to help them to understand that here in the US, right, it can't just be white women. Like, you have to look at other races, other nationalities, and particularly you need to look at African American employees. And we are seeing we're seeing a change in the atmosphere. We're seeing a shift in the atmosphere, and you know, people are starting to realize that, you know, this is major. And I think one of the things that definitely helped. I'm sorry to, you know, that George Floyd had to die in order for, you know, this topic to be put, you know, at the front of everyone's minds. But that incident right there, because we were all at home in the midst of a pandemic watching, helped a lot of corporations to see just how real diversity and inclusion and the lack thereof in the U.S. Is basically a real thing, and how much it relates also to you know, the work site. So I believe that corporate America is finding ways to do better. They still need to do better, but diversity and inclusion initiatives is very important. And if you're looking into companies, you should look on their website to see, do they say anything about it? And if they don't, you know, may not be a company that's going to be the best fit.
So I'll jump in again. So again, you can look on the websites, but if you talk in the talk, you got to walk the walk, because a lot of times you'll have it on companies' websites, like, we're big in diversity and inclusion, but when you look at their metrics, when you look at where are the people of color in certain levels, there are none, right? Or maybe the middle management layer, you know, it's zero. So when you look at even the number of Black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, I think we have like 4, maybe 5, and then Ken Frazier is retiring from Merck later this year, and so that number is going to go down again. And diversity and inclusion is important, like you said, Crystal Lacey, Esquire. George Floyd really did put a flashlight on where we are and how bad it really is, right? And so people have what you call unconscious biases. So you may not feel just the outward racism at work, but you may see it if you talk to your colleagues about your salary. You may see it again when you see other people getting promoted, or you see, you know, certain people of people who are not of color getting promoted or are at that executive level where we're just kind of at the worker bee level where we're still deserving, we're still enough. And so it's not just about what is on their website, but when you really are embedded in the culture of an organization and when you start to challenge what you see and you ask for the data, is really what you see what the company is made of. And so, like Crystal said, when diversity and inclusion first came out, white women benefited because women are a minority. So who are we going to promote? The women we are comfortable with, white women. Black women, we're angry, we don't listen. There are stereotypes. There's this unconscious bias about Black women in corporate America, how we wear our hair. I may have my hair out tomorrow, may wear a ponytail, and you don't recognize me. That's a real thing in corporate America in 2021. And so diversity and inclusion, there are so many layers to it, and I don't think we can really fully answer that question because it's going to vary company to company, and then also where you are in the organization.
But then I will also say there's a thing that's plus ones, right? You have your job, but then you have additional things you do in the company. For me, I get involved with the things that like have policy based so I can learn that, but then also that I can get to know the interworkings of the company and network as well. I also help out with recruiting to better understand the strategies and stuff like that. And as I mentioned, I led one of the internship, which is a unique pipeline we have into our firm. So get involved, understand the policies, because I think that will help you navigate. And that's how I learned, like my firm that I've been with going on 15 years is a people company because of different policies and how I was able to reference this one and do this and do that and work on in a truly global essence of both sides of the house of the industry and the company that I'm in. So I know there was one question about spinoffs. How do you move? Kristen, did you want to take that question? Or are you okay?
I'm okay. Yeah.
How did you move forward without letting your fear overtake you when it came to spinoffs? Because oftentimes in spinoffs or mergers, there is a process of layoffs, et cetera. And how do you move forward through that to where you are today?
Well, that sounds like me. Honestly, so to be candid, if you Google my company in the news right now, they're talking about another acquisition where we might be purchased. In corporate America, that's just what it is. You never know when decisions are being made, and oftentimes it's at such a high level, that you just have to brace yourself and ride the ride. One way that I dealt with it is this: because I was at a law firm where I experienced a layoff. I had told myself after that I have one top priority everywhere I go. That's to learn as much as I can learn so that if I have to hang up my shingle and do this on my own again under Lacey law, I can do that and I will do it well. And that's the one reason why I'm really not that worried. Not the number one reason why I'm not that worried. The number one reason is because I know that God hasn't brought me this far just to drop me off and leave me without no path or no way. And he has shown me that over and over and over again. So right now, like I said, at this very moment, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe the next 2 months, I'll know whether my company is going to be sold again or not. But if that happens, that's fine. I will find another job or I can do the job no matter what. So for me, that is, a lot of what keeps me grounded. It really is just my faith.
And I think that the key thing that you mentioned here is learning the industry and learning things so that you can do it on your own if you have to. I know it's scary going out on your own, but it's doable. And these different opportunities that they have for small businesses and African American owned businesses, it's very tempting. So, Kristen, I have a question for you that you can kick off. What is the most rewarding part of your job? And that's going to be our last question. Then we're going to go to any last words that the panelists have and then go into the drawing and stuff.
I would say personally, for me, the most rewarding thing about my job as a periodontist is I like to put order to disorder. So, I mean, I think that's a personal gratification for me in my career. Sometimes patients come and, I'm kind of the last stop that they'll have before, maybe getting some upsetting news about having to lose many or all of their teeth, or having some type of life-threatening medical illness that I was able to see through their mouth. But I think what's the most gratifying for me is being able to be at the beginning of that journey with a patient and helping them to learn more about their condition and watch them become inquisitive and take ownership of their personal health. I think that's probably the most fulfilling for me.
I'll take it next. The most fulfilling for me is to help people improve their operations. So there's a thing called as is and to be. So as is like where you are now, step A, and step B or step Z is where you want to be. I help with the in between. So clients, as well as even my firm, hires me to work on projects to get that in between, be it moving from one system to the next or how they do their operations. That fulfills me. And that's also what I do in my business, helping people get to where the money resides. And I know there's a question about PhD and finding money for that. So I can address that to you a little later. Anybody else want to say about the most rewarding part of their job?
Yes. So for me, it's the people, and people ask, how can you be at one company for so long? And a lot of it is like I've seen my mother, my grandmother, my uncles work. We were just loyal, we're hard workers, and for me, Merck, we serve the people. It's the people before the profit. And it's not a plug for Merck or anything like that, but I truly see what we do internally and how it makes a difference. And I know big pharma oftentimes gets a bad rep, but we really truly do good work. What I've seen when I went to Germany, I was supposed to go for 6 months. I spent 2 years there because that work was that important for me to get the Ebola vaccine to people in Africa, right? And so when I can have my passion meet up with my job, that equals pure joy for me. And one last word that I leave with the youth here is, if you don't know where you're going, you're always going to be where you are. And so what that means is, if you don't know where you're going in 5 years, you're still going to be where you are right now. And so start thinking about what that next step after the next step is going to be. And what are the skills? What's the network? Who do you need in your corner to get there?
Thank you. And Crystal Lacey, do you want to answer this question?
Sure. So one of the things that's really important to me that my company is responsible for, our mission is we solve the world's most challenging problems concerning water scarcity. And that's an issue because there's still parts of the world today that do not have water, and we know we all need water to live. So what's rewarding to me is that those sustainability initiatives are a big part of my company, and I protect those assets that go towards making certain that people have water, or that they're protecting their assets from water, because water can also be a dangerous thing, but we won't go down the science path right now in regards to chemistry. But I just enjoy being a part of something that's bigger than me. I enjoy being a part of a global organization because I talk to people from all over the world in order to do my job, in order to get things done. Right? It's not a siloed environment. It's one in which it's a team environment, and I learned so much about so many different people in different backgrounds. And I think that's what I find to be honestly the most rewarding. And it doesn't help that they pay me to do it, so I
Well,
like it.
thank you. So I want to see if you have any parting words that you want to leave with our attendees here. And not that we're leaving, because remember, there is a raffle here, and then I do have some closing words. So whoever wants to kick off with their parting words that they want to leave with this audience, they can start it off. I think we kind of hit on that topic, but if there is anything else you want to say, and how can people keep in contact with you if people want to connect with you? Are you open to people
Yes, so I definitely have a passion around if you're on the phone and you are in college or even in high school, I have a passion around mentoring college students, early career, STEM professionals, just around how do you navigate that, just this new space. And so I will drop my email address in the chat in a minute. But again, if you don't know where you're going in 5 years, you are already there. And don't forget to send an elevator back down. Those are my closing words. And I love my family who's on the phone and my friends who are on this panel. Like we all went to Drexel together. So this is like Black woman magic, just so you guys understand, like this was a support system that we've been doing for me, Crystal Galladay and Crystal Lacey since 1998. Kristen Rogers, if you're a little bit younger, boo. So, you know, we
but she's still in there with us. She's still in there with us.
But it's still, you know, you definitely need your friends and your network. I think Sonora dropped it in the chat. Your network defines your net worth. And so you need to surround yourself, and your circle should be with people who you're grounded in the same things, you believe the same things, you have the same aspirations, and you can truly support each other through every and anything and not be jealous. Like we can all win. There's enough stuff, there's enough money out here, there's enough cake, there's enough jobs for everyone to win. And so surround yourself with positive women, ground yourself in whatever your faith is. And those are my parting words. Hi, Mom, I love you. Get back on camera. I told her to turn it off. So I'm shouting out.
And I would like to say there was something that caught my eye during the chat. I can't remember the gentleman's name that posted it, but I think he posted in the chat, no means new opportunities. And I really, really love that. And I'm going to connect that to don't quit. Okay, just because someone tells you no, that doesn't mean that it's no forever, right? It just might be no right now. And there's a new opportunity right along the way. So don't quit. If it's something you want and you know you really believe in yourself and you've done the work in order to get it done, then keep it going.
That was my uncle who put that in there, Ronald Boyce from Tampa.
All right, Uncle Ronald.
That wisdom in the family.
That's right.
Kristen, do you have any parting words? Let me take you off mute. Oh, you can do it.
Sorry about that. No wonder you all couldn't hear me when I tried to chime in earlier. So just my last words would just be that your career in STEM can take you anywhere where you want to go. And I mean, that's evidence through just the career paths that we've had and the many interests that we've been able to cultivate along the way. So I don't think that you can choose wrong, you know, if you choose a career in STEM.
Correct. So my whole advice is go after what you want. It's possible. There's support systems out there. I know Dr. Stephen Jones, he had commented on my post on Facebook, and having the success office at Drexel University, where us Black and Brown students can go to and talk to upperclassmen and have staff to like help guide us through our journey and even help us with work study or even finances, that, you know, because that situation is real. Like you have to pay for college. So just having that support system and speaking to people and putting your ask out there, because if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. So if people don't know what you want, how are they going to help, right? So do what you need to do to get your goal achieved and put in that work. Don't be afraid to do that work, because that's how you're going to get it. Okay. So we're not ending just yet, but I know we do have some other things we want to do and throughout the evening, and also just to close out. The website you can learn about this nonprofit is neverunderestimateknowledge.org. You can support us by donating, which a lot of you have already, and we so appreciate it, or using Amazon Smile and simply choosing this organization as the organization that Amazon will donate to. That's a passive way of donating. We all get those brown boxes in front of our door. And we're also having our annual event on Saturday, November 13th, 2021 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, where we'll be awarding, yes, not 5, but 10 scholarships this year. And in 2022, we're going to have a cruise for education. So mark your calendars for Saturday, May 21st, 2022, which will be a day party style because I can't hang that late anymore. And all details are on the website, neverunderestimateknowledge.org. And all products and services that I offer, be it my book, How to Get a College Degree for Free, which I mentioned I got all 3 of my degrees for free, as well as my journey, as well as the resources and tips that I use, but then also to help others do that, as well as my consulting services. And I'm coming out with a training to not only help you succeed and prepare for college, but to thrive after. All the proceeds for the products and services that I offer are going into as a donation to Never Underestimate Knowledge. So I know there was a question about PhD. I will get to that. I'll email you about that so we can talk. But there is money out there at all levels. I did it for undergraduate and graduate level. And I know you want to know if you won the Lingo coding kit. So there's going to be 3 winners, right? So I'm going to do, keeping it very, very fair here. So I have this here where I'm going to spin the wheel, and the names that come up from here will be mailed it, okay? So here we go. Let's see what the name is. Angela Davies is the first winner. I'm gonna remove her so we can get the next winner. And LaJoan Williams is the second winner. But guess what? The third winner is going to be the first person who registered for this event. See, it pays to register for this event, and Never Underestimate Knowledge event first. And that was Rochelle Mitchell. So she will be the third person. So it's Angela Davies, LaJoan Williams, and Rochelle Mitchell. So feel free to message me directly your mailing address, or and that's me, Crystal Galladay, in the chat, or send an email to contact@neverunderestimateknowledge.org and give me your address so that we can get this coding set to you. So congrats to those 3 lucky winners. And before closing, I have several people I want to thank. And remember, register for that event in November, and then maybe something next month. You never know what we decide to do, because this event came about as an idea, and look what it came up to. You know, Amazon believing in this event and sponsoring this event. So I do want to thank our 3 lovely panelists, Kristen Rogers, Dr. Rogers, I should say, Crystal M. Lacey Esquire, and Dr. Elise Grace. Our sponsor, Amazon. Those who have been behind the scenes working in their unique way for Never Underestimate Knowledge, who are Shanae Johnson, Abigail Gold, Aisha Gant, Ekundayo Ojumu, Kyrie Clark, Jules Smith, Yul Emerson, Reggie Bryant, Ashley Smalls, Sonora Allwood, and my husband, Sean, and our prince, and each and every one of you that decided to attend this event and take it a step further in sharing this event. We truly appreciate it, because those shares, they definitely help with the exposure and reaching more people, because we truly want to help inner city youth as well as domestic violence survivors. So I am Crystal Galladay, the founder and executive director of Never Underestimate Knowledge, wishing you all peace and blessings to you and yours, and let's stay connected. All of my social media outlets are on my website, crystalgalladay.com. Well, except for TikTok and Clubhouse, but Crystal Galladay, you can find my name. Thank you, everyone. I so appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.